Hi everyone. So today we're gonna talk about what it means and what's the effect of having a ego that we don't need, don't want, or that we suffer from. If we go back to previous videos, I think this one, we can see that inside there's something that I call the true self, and egos is all the layers that we of conditioning that we receive from society, our parents, our teachers, friends, etc., that end up shaping our social identity. And then we identify ourselves with our knowledge, what we know, what we want, what we like, and stuff like that. So either our skill and our knowledge, our competence, or anything. It could be positive and it could be negative as well. Like, I don't know, if we're clumsy or if we're incompetent at something or somebody bully us and then we end up impersonating that identity attached to the insult of the bullies, then that becomes also our ego. So an ego could be something that we're confident with, that we're proud of, or something that we're suffering from. And if we go back to the figure of today, then there's time where our social identity can appear socially positive, meaning that we can be famous, we can be popular, we can be wealthy, we can be liked by everyone, and we suffer anyway. And there's even people who are depressive, commit suicide, even if everything in their surrounding, everybody believes they should be happy, they have everything that they should be happy, and we're not happy. We're not happy because there's a disconnection between our inner self and our outer self. When what we are externally match and is attuned to how we feel inside, then we're happy. And if it's not attuned, that means that like the expression of the outer self is not matching how it feels on the inside, then that disconnection creates suffering. And it could be because, like, say for if you're famous is like, and you don't want to be famous but that's how people sees you, or if you have a family, you're successful in the business and you think you cannot let go of your business or whatever is your social identity, and we don't know how to let it go without facing the backlash, the social backlash from the people we love, then we suffer because we want something different or we want to let go and it has never suited us, but because we got trapped into just impersonating, like I did when I was younger, my education, my professional task and everything, because I didn't know any better. And so we suffer because we're just caught up in the system or in the flow of thought that brings us to the next step and to the next step. And if we're successful, if we're talented, and people are giving us praise, we are somehow feeding a part of ego. But deep down, sometimes we still feel empty. And so we can be externally successful and still suffer, or we can also be miserable, meaning we could be poor, we could be, I don't know, lost someone we love, we could just be handicapped or are physically not attractive, and then people sees us as so, and we suffer from the way people sees us, and then that's also our ego that creates a weight. That's how we identify ourselves, because we believe the way that people perceive us is the truth, and it's the way people perceive us, or we get bullied at work or at school, or even from our family, and that creates a weight. So what it means is that to be something or to impersonate an identity in society has a weight, and it's hard to perceive and understand if we never got rid of one. And I feel personally I got rid of multiple identity throughout my life. They all appear to be in a 7-year kind of gap or time zone. And so I had a time when I was younger where I used to identify myself as a government worker and an economist, etc. And I let go of that and then become a rock climber, a carpenter for 7, 8 years. And then after that, I become a spiritual seeker, a yogi, meditator, etc. And now I think it would be closer to like dancing, and I don't even know what's my profession, to be honest. Or but yeah, I feel there's cycle like this, and every time you let go of one fully, then you feel naked. It feels lighter, and it feels good for some time, but also you feel lost because you cannot be proud of nothing when you have no new skill to identify yourself, no new identity to identify yourself, no new knowledge that you can be proud to like belong to a part of the community that feel more connected. Meaning that like when I let go of my city life, I moved out to the biggest uh, climbing community in my country, and I was a beginner climber, beginner in construction, and it was hard for me to have a strong identity. And so you feel kind of misplaced, and it's only after years when you gain skill, knowledge, and a sense of bonding with the people that you enjoy their company, that you're able to feel confident again and to be proud again and to gain a new ego identity. And although for me at the time, climbing community felt closer to me than what I had before, it still didn't feel fully me. I didn't know back then that it was a process. I still felt that this was the best thing that happened in my life, and I would die a climber and I would continue as a construction worker, carpenter forever. And I didn't know that there was more out of life for me to grow from, to be excited about. And it was the first time, it was something that I was proud to belong, to identify myself with. And I didn't want to let it go at the beginning until I had those seven injury all on my right side in 2011, 12. And then I lost everything again because of those injury, and I couldn't identify myself. I couldn't, yeah. And then, so what is it that I want to share today is when ego identity that we cannot impersonate anymore because of life, because we are not feeling attuned within yourself anymore, because there's no more growth. Meaning that it's cool to be at school and you're learning, but eventually you want to graduate. You cannot stay in the high school, elementary school, and time to graduate. And even if in college, you have to graduate either to university or to the market force or whatever is your path as an artist, there's so many paths, but our main journey is for growth. So this is kind of a backpack because we're student of life, here to develop, to learn, and to grow. And when we grow, we have to let go. So just like a butterfly, you can use the nourishment of what you learn to become something greater that has nothing to do with her older self. And this process is it's really a metamorphosis. You're fusing what you are truly with what you're growing with to become something that doesn't exist. I mean, there's many carpenter, there's many climber, there's many, but at the same time, we're unique on our own. And when we are truly following our path, our journey, it feels that we are special, even if there's better climber, better everything at us. It's like, it's about our own journey. There's no need for comparison, including in spirituality. And what I'm sharing right now, I feel unique. Is like, there's definitely way better communicator about everything I've shared already, but this is my uniqueness, and I think it's deserved. And if it reached some people, I don't need to be able to teach through like a guru, like the one I've met in India. But at the same time, I feel because we are in a global awakening process, there's definitely a lot of garbage and lower quality information. Maybe some of you will label of what I share as such, but at the same time, the fact that there's more stepping stone between elementary and university, meaning that there's high school, there's college, whatever, it's easier for people who are at the baby level to grow and graduate compared to if they would only be kindergarten and university, meaning that in the past, in the long past, the spiritual journey was much difficult, much harder, because it was only accessible for older soul, meaning that you had to have the discipline to isolate yourself either in a monastery or alone in a mountain for a decade, and to find with meditation or whatever was your practice, the channeling from the divine, and to realize or to have divine teaching from realization instead of information. And now, because it's so widespread and there's so much information available, we have access to like the teaching of the greatest. And there's also a lot of great awakened men and women, but there's a difference between being good at something like rock climbing and being able to teach to the level that you can break down the information so it's chewable and digestible for the people who are starting to learn the trade, the knowledge, and the skill. And that's for everything. Could be carpentry, could be driving, could be anything. You can be the best in the world, but it doesn't mean you're the best teacher. Teaching is a skill on its own. And there's been many great being that were in consciousness, able to see the truth and self-realize, but we're not able to efficiently transmit the knowledge to raise the consciousness of the majority to a higher level for them to receive. Like Jesus draw a lot of followers, but doesn't mean that he was able necessarily to bring them to the same level of consciousness that he realized for himself about God. And I mean, obviously for him it's different because eventually church made the teaching of Jesus a religion. And not everyone will agree, but the fundamentalists will say that his teaching from the religion's perspective kind of diverged from the true nature of what he was trying to share. And yeah, so I don't know why I went this way, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you're suffering with where you are in your life, with what you have accumulated, with either knowledge, material, connection, relationship, you could be surrounded by amazing people, but it doesn't mean that it's the tribe you're meant to die with. It means that it maybe was a tribe that you were meant to grow until today. And if there's no more growth and you're seeking and desiring for more, or feeling that there's more out there for you, and then it's time for you to leave your pack and start the lonely journey of finding yourself first and finding a new tribe that resonate to the next stage of your growth, the next stage of your embracing who you are and learning. And there's so many beautiful surprises along the way. It's hard. It's like everybody, the way I see it is that, like, if we go to the first picture, this is the summit of the mountain, and there's a ridge here, and I feel this is the best expression. This drawing, if you didn't watch all the video, is the first image that came from my meditation retreat 13 years ago in 2012. And I feel the journey is a mountain, and there's many ways. There's more direct ways, steep, harder, maybe like I would say meditating 24/7 on a mountain on your own, super sharp. There's easier way, but filled with ups and downs, and then loops, and then you always think you're on summit, and then it's like, what is this? And then you think you're in a summit, and then you go down, and then you never know. I think there is a summit. But at the end of the day, there's different way to approach it. And I will show in subsequent videos so that there's other way to approach it. But what it means is that the way is how it resonates. It's the same way as if somebody would ask me, what is the best way to lose weight? If you're really overweight, and you ask a trainer, what is the best way? And for sure, science will say, well, this method, whatever, has more probability to lose weight faster than this method. But at the end of the day, it's really what brings you to the gym or to the center for you to have the discipline to create an autonomous discipline, to create an incentive for you to return. Because even if it's the best way, going one time to the gym, going one time to the swimming pool, going one time to run won't change much. You really have to integrate a healthier routine into your daily life so you can transform your life and to remove the bad stuff in your life that get us stuck where you are today. And so whatever it is, there for the spiritual journey is about emptying the mind. And so there's meditation that's popular, there's yoga, and there's chanting like mantra and kirtan, and there's qigong, tai chi. All those techniques are meant to be present and to be away from the monkey mind, always thinking. Like scrolling is not a good thing. A lot of people in mainstream use drugs because they suffer from a mind. The suffering only exists in the mind. So using coping mechanism is a way that mainstream society is showing us to calm the suffering that's coming from the mind. For me, I smoked a lot of weed back in the day, but my addiction was climbing. So extreme sport and pushing always the limit, you are so present, and it's obviously more socially acceptable than starting smoking crack or meth. But at the same time, it's an evasion. It's an evasion because you are pushing the limit, and it feels good, but it's the only moment where you feel empty, present, and focused. But if you risk your life all the time, and there's a lot of people who are doing that, you're not just climbing casually for fun to interact with the community. You're climbing, at least for me, it was a spiritual journey. It was the beginning of my first spiritual practice in some ways. But you always push to just be, you're not scared of death, you're not scared of life. I think sex addiction is one thing. It's just like the release, ejaculating, for most people, it's a spiritual experience because you just pass out. But at the same time, if you always needed to escape the daily suffering, then it doesn't matter what it is, including work, including training, all addiction. If it's to numb your suffering in one way, to keep the mind busy from being present, if you're not able to stay in presence, in silence, and without being itchy with boredom, then in different level, you are numbing your suffering, and you're not able to sink in with the voice that's within you that is trying to steer your life. But we are keeping ourselves busy or numbing your mind So we cannot hear that. It's the reflex of the ego. The ego just wants what we have because it feels safe. It doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to be renewed. It want to stay and keep everything. And then we're hoarding material, hoarding people, hoarding stuff to do, to keep yourself busy, to keep yourself like, to sustain what we think we are. And letting go, it's scary. It's the void. It's the unknown. We are, yeah, it's frightening to go over the edge of what we, everything we know, being, we are okay to replace one identity to another one, to replace one school to another one, to like a subject of whatever, like economy to like accounting, or like to do something else with her life. We're just not okay to do nothing and to just, what, how do I feel now? We're okay to change job, and I understand it's like there's pressure because we have to pay rent, we have responsibility, but at the same time, are we working just to afford living? Are we all working because there's meaning in what we're doing, because we feel alive, because yes, purpose, because we're growing? Are we working and feeling that we're dying, and that it's killing, and our light inside is dimming and dimming and dimming? And so it doesn't matter if it's work, it doesn't matter if it's relationship, it doesn't matter what do we do. It's really, how do we feel inside? Is it bringing growth? Is it bringing joy? Is it bringing something that bring something valuable for us? Or it just killing all that is left from joy from us? And then we have to let go of that backpack and be naked. And rebuild ourselves eventually when we feel more attuned to something that we discover. But it's not possible to keep adding something more without feeling the pressure. So it's really necessary to let go so we can fill our backpack with something new, something that brings more life within us. And yeah, emptying the mind. It's like people who have an amazing house. I had before. You have an amazing apartment. It's filled up with the most beautiful decoration. You bought everything in your kitchen that you need, and then you can let go. And then you're not happy with where you're living, but you love your apartment. Or you have a job and it's paying you well, and maybe your boss loves you and the people love you, but the job is redundant. It's just not challenging enough. And then there's people who have lower capacity, and that's fine. But there's people who have high capacity and they're driven and they have a thirst. But because of security, which fulfill insecurity, I don't know, maybe because also the job gives you promotion, it gives you retirement pension, insurance, and all this is like, well, I feel safe, but I feel so safe, and so you feel trapped. You feel trapped because if your job would suck, it would be easier to give up. If they would not be so comfortable, it would be easier to give up. But when you've stayed so long and accumulated all those things, either in your house, in your job, or whatever with your partner, it's much harder to let go when you know that it's only suffering that is growing within yourself. And yeah, but there's no choice. There's no choice. Further you wait, further more heavy you are, more clustered you are, and more suffering you will be. There's no way out toward getting further into the path of suffering. There's no way out for more peace further inside the path of suffering. Suffering is swimming against mainstream. I don't know if it's here. Is it? Yeah, exactly. So you follow mainstream, it's easy, you just go with the flow. But we have to swim against mainstream. It's harder. It's much harder to swim against mainstream. Everyone's going in one way. It's easy to follow the flow. It's easy to be like everyone else. It's really, really, really hard at the beginning to start unloading and being different, because everyone will challenge us. First, we have our true self have to argue with our own ego. And when we start assuming in front of our friend and family and the people that love us, you have to start arguing with the people that loves you, with your boss and everyone. You have to somehow you have to justify yourself that you don't love this life anymore. And come with really good they will come with really good um um well, I lost my word, argument. But there's no choice. There's no choice. It's like you might not even understand why you want something different. You might not even able to there's people who are good to explain how they feel, and there's people who can just feel but they're not good to verbalize how they feel and to explain to others, to convince them that we're okay, that we're doing that not because we're lunatic, that because it feels more like it's a sometimes if we have words and can convince people, it's easier for them, but sometimes we don't have them. And so what do? We have to unload. We have to unload. And eventually when we unload, it's easier and easier because we're lighter. We're lighter. We're lighter. And then if we're patient enough, and then we're tuned to the path, then eventually with the empty vessel, it's easier to be open for something new to come toward us. When we're too full, no room. For some people, it's start to travel. Some people, it's a new job. I don't know. There's so many different paths. A lot of people find meaning in traveling. It's just changed everything, because in traveling, what is good about it is not traveling. I'm not talking about vacation. Vacation is like you going to another tourist place. That's for mainstream people. Traveling is really taking a lot of time off so you can disconnect from what you were. And what you discover, if you really go to a country that is really different from the country you're coming from, is that you realize really quickly that the conditioning in that country is really different and the people think differently. And then eventually you understand why you think like that. It's only because of where you're coming from, because we are brainwashed all differently. If you're coming from a Muslim country, everything that you believe is sustained. There's people who are straying away from their religion, from their government, from their country, or whatever, is that they're already somehow in a journey. And I'm happy I have the passport where I grew up, but at the same time, I'm different, and it's okay to be different. It's okay to assume that difference and to reconnect and live where it feels more tuned, where you can be yourself, where you can grow and go to the school of life that is more aligned with what's want to emerge and grow within yourself. If you want to be a doctor, an engineer, or whatever, there's the best school in the city. But if you want to be something else, then you have to find where can I learn and grow from that, what I wish I would for myself. Not easy. Not easy at the beginning, mostly at the beginning. The first time is the hardest. First time is the hardest because people around you expect the most from you. And then eventually it gets easier because there's like, okay, tea is different. And if you're okay and you're able to sustain yourself, like most people, they just don't want, like my parents start, at least my dad, I feel, it took 7-8 years to be okay with my lifestyle. And he told me one day that he was okay, not because he agreed with my life choice, but because he saw that my both parents saw that I was happy and that I was not dependent on them. So I was already grown up, but they were scared if I let go the potential job. And it was a good job that I had. I like for the first year from my office job to working in shitty job, not being able to speak English, and my wage was cut in half, and I had like 20 plus thousand of student loan to pay. That was in 2005, so it was a lot more money um, compared to today's 20 years later. And I managed. I was really focused. I paid everything in less than a year, and after that, I wanted nothing than learning the lifestyle of dirtbag rock climbing. So I only work according to that need. And every year, I was making $5 an hour more because it was a boom in construction, so they needed more worker, and I was not the best, but good enough to satisfy a need, and good enough in negotiating my wage that I only asked for $5 an hour more. And if not, it just didn't work because I was able to save money. If you're not able to save money and you need the job, then you have a lower leverage for negotiating your wage. So it's always good that you're able to choose by not being desperate. And every year I was just working 1 month less. So the first year I worked 5 months and traveled 7 months, and then I traveled 4 months and worked 4 months and traveled 8 months, and then worked 3 months, traveled 9 months, etc. And at the end, the last year before the spiritual journey, I worked 17 days and traveled the rest of the year. And then I sold my place. I had an apartment. I sold my place. I bought a big van, drove from Canada all the way to the south of Argentina for almost 2 years. It was a big dream of me to climb the biggest mountain in Patagonia, which I did. And then I was tired driving, tired of the cold, sold the van, and then came to Asia, which I've been living. Thailand mostly, but also other places for the last almost 11, 12 years now. And life has been good with me. And this is only possible because I was courageous enough to be naked the first time, 2005, the first time. And then I let go again, 2012, 11, 12, and then again, 2019. So yeah, every 7 years, I realize 7 year gap. All right, 33 minutes. I think it's enough for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, like. If you have personal question, because this video is somehow a bit more personal, or if it's about you, ask question. It's a small channel, so it's easy for me to answer all questions for now. And if you've watched a few and you enjoy, please subscribe so you can receive more and help me spread the message to a wider audience. Thank you. Bye bye.